If you're cruising with MSC for the first time, you're probably wondering what to expect. This video is going to help you save money, avoid mistakes, and have a better cruise. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, even though I've been on over 35 cruises, I recently went on my very first MSC cruise. And I have to say, I genuinely wasn't sure what to expect. I had scoured the internet for all sorts of tips and tricks and things to avoid. And I have to tell you, a lot of things have changed this year. So there's a lot of new information in this video that I really hadn't heard anywhere else. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention two things. Firstly, if you have sailed with MSC, let us know any additional tips that I haven't covered. Please let us know down in the comments below because it will help other people. And if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Okay, first a little bit about MSC Cruises. MSC Cruises is a European cruise line, so there are going to be some differences from a lot of the North American cruise lines that we might be a little bit more accustomed to. Now, MSC Cruises is in the contemporary cruise line category, so it has a lot of similarities to Royal Caribbean, to Carnival, to Norwegian Cruise Line. Now, of course, there are also some differences, and I will talk a little bit about that in this video. Now, if it seems like you're seeing MSC Cruises more and more in recent years, it's not your imagination. MSC is making a push in the North American market. They have quite a lot of new, absolutely gorgeous ships. And this year, while we were leaving out of Miami, there were 5 ships leaving out of Florida, and next year there will be 6. Now, MSC Cruises is very popular in Europe, so something to note is that when you are cruising, even from North America, is that you are going to have a lot of European passengers on board, a lot of an international clientele. That isn't something that is bad, but I am going to share a little bit more about what to expect later on in the video. Status match. Now, before you even get on board the cruise ship, something that you will want to do is look into the status match program. Now, the status match program is very good whether you've cruised with other cruise lines before, or even if you have a loyalty status with a hotel chain. Now, if you do have a higher loyalty status, you are going to be able to get some perks on board your MSC cruise. Now, what you'll want to do when you are booking your cruise is you want to just take a look, and you are going to find a form on their website. It's pretty simple. You'll just put in a loyalty number along with a screenshot. Booking your MSC cruise with different experiences. Now, before my first MSC cruise, I found this really confusing, but it really isn't that difficult at all. So they have basically different price points for booking your cruise. You have the basic price, or your entry level price, and that is the Bella experience. And you get all of your included dining, you get still a cabin, you get everything on the cruise, but you do get a little bit less choice on some things. Now, the other experience, which is the one, by the way, that we booked, is Fantastica. Now, with Fantastica, you get a choice of your own cabin. You also get a choice of your dining time. Although, if I'm not mistaken, they don't guarantee the dining time, but we got our dining time. Now, you also get complimentary continental breakfast. That's something that I like, and it really wasn't much more expensive than the base price of Bella, so that is what we opted for. There's Aurea, and that includes more perks, including spa access and access to a top 19 exclusive solarium. And of course, there's also the ultimate in luxury on MSC Cruises, which is Yacht Club. Now, these pricing options is one way that MSC can be quite affordable, but more on how to save money with MSC in this video. Now, there are a few things that you'll need to know about Embarkation Day. Now, in particular, there are a couple of do's and don'ts. So firstly, there's something that you cannot bring on an MSC cruise ship that you might be able to bring on other cruise ships, and that is wine. So you're not allowed to bring wine or any soft drinks on an MSC cruise. Now, there are a couple of things that you should pack for your MSC cruise. One of them is a white outfit. Now, you don't need to be head to toe in white, but something white is great because there is going to be a really fun white night or white party, and the other is an outfit for your gala or your formal night. Now, even though MSC Cruises on their website, they do have some suggestions as to what you can wear for these gala nights. But in practice, a lot of people dress like they might go to a party or maybe even as a guest at a wedding or even to a nice restaurant. So it really is more of a suggestion so that everybody has a good time rather than a dress code that is strictly enforced. Now, there can be other theme nights, including a tropical night or a 70s or 80s night. We didn't see many people dressing up for these nights, but you definitely can if you like. Now, after you check in on embarkation day, you are going to be able to get your key cards. Now, it seems like in the past that on MSC you got your key cards as you did your check-in, but when we boarded our cruise on MSC Seascape, we were able to pick up our room cards at our cabin, and we were able to drop off our carry-on luggage as well. Our cabins weren't really ready for us to check in and to unpack, but we were able to do that little drop off, which we appreciated. The muster drill or safety check-in. Now, this is something that seems to have changed as well recently, as on our cruise, it was really just a safety check-in at the muster station, and then we were able to watch the safety video from our cabin. Now, something you should know if you're cruising with MSC is that from your cabin, you'll actually have to pick up the phone and you'll have to call, I believe if I'm not mistaken, it is 881. You'll have to just dial that number, and that indicates that you have done your muster drill. Now, I do have to warn you about something that you are going to find on embarkation day. Even if you have already booked dining packages, even if you've already booked a drink package, you will notice that on embarkation day and even the next day that you'll probably be asked quite a few times if you do want to purchase either of those packages. Now, that is something that we noticed, I think, up until day 2. I almost wanted to have a sign just on my forehead to say, I bought the package, but this is just something to be aware of. So speaking of packages, before your cruise, that is when you're going to want to purchase dining packages or drink packages, because they are going to be typically on sale online before your cruise. However, in our experience, there were also some promotions when we were on board. Now, in particular, I would say when it comes to the drink package, check on any promotions that are happening when you book your MSC cruise. When we booked our MSC cruise, we had a promotion that included basic Wi-Fi and a drink package. It was a very good value. The drink package that we got was Easy Plus. This included drinks up to $10, and truthfully, we found that this was absolutely enough for all of our drinking needs, for all of the different kinds of drinks that we wanted to get throughout our cruise. It even included specialty coffee, which, by the way, on MSC is excellent. Dining reservations. Now, whether you have specialty dining or you plan to eat in the included main dining room the entire cruise, do go over to the dining reservations desk to confirm your dining times for every night of the cruise. Now, that's going to include those specialty restaurants. You can choose your nights. And by the way, you could even take a look in your app. So make sure that you do download the MSC app. You could take a look at all of the main dining room included menus so that you can choose which nights you want to skip the main dining room and maybe you want to go to specialty dining if you choose that. But something else that you can do is you can make sure that you do have the dining time that you prefer. Now, in our case, we were able to choose the 7:30 dining time, which suited us very well, but other people might have gotten a 9 o'clock dining time and they preferred something a little bit earlier. So this is a good time to request a change. Now, while it's not guaranteed, if you do ask right away early on embarkation day, you have a better chance. The food and dining on MSC. Now, I have to say this was one area that I really didn't know what to expect on MSC, but we were pleasantly surprised because overall it was a very good experience, but there is some good and bad. So I think adjusting expectations to what is, at least for now, is something that is important. So when it comes to really a comparison versus other cruise lines, MSC has a very large buffet, a lot of really good varied options that are included. But what they don't have, that some of the cruise lines have, is a poolside grill or a separate pizzeria in an atrium area or a separate cafe with snacks in an atrium area. So instead, all of the casual included food is centered in a very large buffet with many different stations. Now, what you can find in the buffet are burgers and hot dogs. You could find a variety of hot dishes. You could find carved meats. You could find pastas. You could find salads. You could find fresh fruits. You could find cheeses. You could find charcuterie. And you could find some of the very best pizza at sea. Even the soft serve ice cream cones are served in the buffet. And what you do have next to the pool, though, is you do have gelato. There is an extra $4 charge for that, but it is absolutely delicious. Now, something that I don't think that I've said about any other cruise line so far is I think that you might eat a little bit healthier on MSC than on other cruise lines. There was more variety of fresh fruits on this cruise line than I have ever seen. But to contrast that, there were also some delicious breads and some of the very best pastries that we have had that have been included on a cruise. Now, there's even a section of the buffet for young children where they can serve themselves. So this cruise line is really good for families. Now, I will share a little bit more information that families are going to want to know. But first, I did want to share some information about the main dining room. Now, the main dining room itself, you have several main dining rooms around the cruise ship. You can check the menus with a QR code at the table, so you can check that right on your phone. But if you do want to have a paper menu, you can ask for that as well. Now, you are going to notice that yes, the tables are a little bit close together. They are serving banquet style, and it is a pretty fast service. So for instance, we were sitting down at 7:30 and we were out by just about 9. The specialty dining. Now, the specialty dining, you can purchase either a la carte or you can purchase a package. The specialty dining restaurants are excellent. The service is really good and the food is delicious. Now, I almost forgot about the tour de brunch. I do not know if this is on every cruise ship yet, but they were apparently testing this out on our ship. I hope that they bring this across the fleet. A really nice menu in the main dining room for brunch on sea days. The credit card account payment machines. Now, before we went on our cruise, I was ready to have to do this on MSC. I had seen quite a lot of videos and information about this, but I don't know if this is something new. But we did not have to do this on our cruise. I was able to, before I got on board my cruise, I attached my credit card to my account. And when I got on board, I actually asked at customer service about how the process worked, and they were able to look and they saw that my credit card was indeed attached. So this is something you might want to check when you are on board your MSC cruise. Destination elevators. The elevators are interesting on MSC because what you're going to do is press the deck that you want to go to, and then you will be assigned an elevator that will be going to that deck. Now, it gets a little bit tricky because sometimes only one person presses for the elevator, but then they enter in with like 8 people or something, and it kind of messes up the elevator. So that is just something to be aware of. Now, do take a look. This is a tip even for all cruise ships, but in particular, I think on MSC, if you walk away from those midship elevators and instead go to the very back, those aft elevators, we had found that those were always super quick. MSC For Me wristbands. Now, this was something that we found out about probably a day or so into our cruise. So I wish I knew about this sooner, but this was pretty cool. You could purchase a wristband, and instead of using your cruise card to pay for things on a cruise or to tap for things on a cruise, well, you could use that wristband instead. And as well, even to go in and out of your cabin. The only thing is that when you do disembark from the cruise ship, even in cruise ports of call, you did still need your card. So it wasn't a complete replacement of your card, but it did make it more convenient. Now, if you were in Oria or in Yacht Club, these do come included. The pools and hot tubs. Now, there are several pools on board MSC. We did find that the pools are not particularly big, but there is a lot of space around the pools to have deck chairs. Now, even if you can't find a deck chair directly at the pool, we found that there were always deck chairs along the side of the ship, either on the Lido deck or on the lower deck as well. On our ship, MSC Seascape, that was on deck 8, and there was a lot of seating either at tables or on deck chairs where you got a beautiful view of the sea. The hot tubs. Now, this was something that surprised me that I didn't know about before, and honestly, it is not the end of the world, but the hot tubs were not very hot. Now, it turned out when I did ask other people about this, I even asked in the LifeWell Cruise community about this, and they said no, on MSC, the hot tubs are not hot. They're really more like lukewarm. So I guess it's an alternative to a pool, but that is something to be aware of. Cruising with kids. Now, MSC Cruises are great for cruising with kids for a couple of reasons that I will share. But firstly, let's talk about what they have on board the cruise ship for families and kids. And honestly, I wish I would have known this earlier, even when my own children were young. But they have, at least on their newer ships, amazing pool areas for kids with water slides, with a splash park. And by the way, if you're not cruising with kids, don't worry, because they do have an adult-only pool area as well. Of course, they have a kids club. They have an arcade. I think it's called Hall of Games. And they also have some really good pricing for families. Now, if kids are staying in the same cabin as their parents, MSC, I don't know if it's on every single cruise, it might be, but they do have a promotion that seems to run at least most of the time that is kids 17 and under sail free. And I have to say, even though I think that cruises overall are a very good value vacation, especially when we take a look at the price of hotels these days, well, let's face it, the cost of everything has gone up, and I do think that this makes MSC Cruises one of the very best values in terms of your vacation dollars. The entertainment. Now, MSC Cruises is definitely a fun cruise vacation. Now, in particular, they do have some of the very best evening and nightlife that I have seen on a cruise. Now, the atrium area is often going to have a live band playing, and there are other live musical acts in different venues. There's karaoke, there's audience participation games, and of course, there are also shows in the main theater. Now, although there is a lot of variety and there is something for everyone, I do think that the entertainment is one area that some other cruise lines outshine them: the service and the clientele. So firstly, when it comes to the service, we had twice a day housekeeping, which is something that I've said it before in my other videos. I like that, even if it's just a quick turn down in the evening, and we had an excellent cabin attendant. But we found overall the service to be really good on board MSC, despite hearing some mixed reviews on that as well. Now, I do have some thoughts as to why that could be, but I will share that just after this. So when it comes to the clientele, something that you are going to notice, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all, but is that the clientele is more international. And even if you are leaving on a cruise that's leaving out of Florida, as an example, or leaving out of New York, there are a lot of Europeans that sail on MSC, a lot of international clientele, let's say, because this is a very big cruise line. And so on our cruise, as an example, we were told there were about 60% Americans, and that meant that we heard different languages on board. Now, when we were in the elevator, we would hear German, we would hear French, we would hear Swiss, we'd hear Italian. So that is just something to expect on board the ship. Now, even though I heard that you have to hear announcements in multiple languages, we didn't find that to be the case. Most of the time we heard English, and as well we heard Italian, but that was from our captain, who was Italian. Now, speaking of the clientele, a lot of people wonder, is there a lot of smoking on board? Now, we didn't find there to be any difference from any other cruise line that we've been on. So they have smoking areas, just like every cruise line, that are outdoors. So there were smokers at those areas, but nothing that ever bothered me when I was sitting in another area. And inside the cruise ship, the only place that there was smoking, to my knowledge, was in the casino. And again, like the majority of other cruise lines that I have sailed on. Okay, so getting back to service and what that might have to do with the clientele. Now, personally, we found the service to be very good, but something that we were told when we were on board our cruise, and I don't know if it's a fact or not, but something that we were told is that the service that Americans like and expect is different than what might be more normal for a European clientele. So what we were told is that Americans actually like a little bit of banter. Let's say at dinner, they might like it when somebody says, "How was your day? What did you do today in the port?" Whereas Europeans and perhaps some other clientele prefer a more straight, simple service without very much small talk. Now, somebody did mention to us that on American sailings, that the crew now is really trying to adapt to that more American way of doing things. But you can imagine that for the crew, it can be difficult for them to know what somebody might prefer. So I do think we all should have a little bit of patience with that very hardworking crew. Now, if you have any thoughts on that, either way, of course, please do keep it nice, but please let me know down in the comments below. Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. Now, if you are on a Caribbean sailing, there's a good chance that you are going to be going to Ocean Cay Marine Reserve, which is MSC's private island. Now, if you think it's like any other private island, it really isn't. It's very beautiful, very natural, and that is what it's trying to be. So you're going to have ample beaches that are very natural looking. The water is absolutely gorgeous. So you're going to be able to really enjoy that day. Now, one of the areas that I particularly liked, and I think that you may enjoy, is there is a bay area in the center of the private island. Now, in particular, if you really like calm water or if you are cruising with kids, this is a perfect spot. Now, on Ocean Cay, you have lounge chairs that are free or included. You'll also have a beach barbecue, but there is something to note. There are some paid options as well. Now, when you get off in MSC's private island, you are able to use your internet package on the island. Now, there is a different process. They are going to have that information right as you disembark. So make sure that you do follow those instructions to set your phone to the island's Wi-Fi, and as well something that is very good. If you have a drink package, it's going to work on the island as well. Cabanas. Now, just a little tip when it comes to the cabanas on Ocean Cay, and by the way, we did not get a cabana, but I did look into it and get a little bit of information, as I did hear some really good feedback when we were on board. So the cabanas are actually more reasonably priced than many other cruise lines. I think in general it's about $250. That is going to give you seating for 6 in the cabana area, water bottles, the use of towels. Now, something that you don't have, unfortunately, is a server for the bar. So that is something to note, but you do get that shaded area if you like that, and you do get a couple of floating beach mats. Now, if you have ever rented the cabana on MSC's private island, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought. Now, if you are interested in knowing more about MSC Cruises, I am going to leave a playlist of my MSC videos right at the end of this one, along with my MSC Seascape review. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know if you have any questions, or even if you've been on MSC, if you have any extra tips, please do share them down below along with any of your thoughts. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.